the end of a long, hard day, is there anything better than coming home, getting in your PJs, maybe you pour yourself like a glass of wine and watch some kind of crime mystery?
2 out of 3 are good for me. I don't wear pajamas, but
I don't want to know anymore.
I actually did this last night. There was a new one on Netflix. I watched it. And really, it's interesting. For a subject solely focused on some of the most evil acts in humanity, why does this captivate us so much?
Well, here on the 10, we dedicate 10 minutes to a single topic every weeknight. And tonight, we are talking true crime obsession.
People love it. And what we found will have you questioning more about yourself than the actual bad guys features in those mysteries. And that's our starting point tonight. Well, listen, you don't have to look far for evidence that true crime stories are wildly popular right now. Think about it. Counterclock, Crime Junkie, Dr. Death, all of those lead the bingeable podcast charts. And of course, one of the pioneers of true crime podcasts was Serial. Remember that one with Adnan? When it launched back in 2014, it became the fastest podcast to reach 5 million downloads ever.
All right, 2 years later, more than 970,000 true crime books were sold, and by 2018, that number shot up to 1.5 million.
That's a lot of reading.
It's a lot.
I don't do any of that reading. I do the podcast and the TV shows, of course. We can't forget the Netflix documentary Making a Murderer Right. More than 19 million people watched it just in the first month alone.
Okay, even more famous than any of those books or those podcasts, NBC's Dateline. For more than 2 decades, Dateline has brought some of the most compelling mysteries to viewers. And the man at the center of it, if you don't know him by his face, you'll know his voice. None other than Keith Morrison. And we had the opportunity to talk to Keith about the true crime investigations and stories he's shared with viewers. And he says, after all these years, he still gets captivated by the stories.
The whodunit aspect of it and the effort to find out what happened and to uncover the details of it, to get to the reason of it is really at the heart of the story.
So for a closer look and maybe more in-depth look at the reasons behind all this, let's search for answers on our clue board. Maybe Colonel Mustard has some answers. Studies show that people are actually fascinated with evil itself. We find it intriguing.
Another main reason people are interested in true crime is because we're often driven by the adrenaline from fear.
It also challenges us to kind of think critically, be our own detective. That's why I enjoy it. A lot of us end up playing armchair detective, try to make sense of all the clues, and ultimately see whether or not we're right, if we pick the right bad guy.
Colonel Mustard with the lead pipe, right? Usually. All right. And it helps us feel prepared. Our minds like to think about the what-if scenarios, and we often look to true crime stories as examples of what to do or what not to do in case we were ever found, God forbid, to be in one of these situations. The idea of preparedness has been front of mind for Dr. Amanda Vickery. She's a social psychologist and professor at Illinois Wesleyan University. She has 6 years of experience studying the psychology behind crime and is, by the way, a self-professed true crime addict herself, so we bond on that one. In 2010, she published a study in the journal Social, Psychological, and Personality Science in which she looked at statistics behind true crime stories and found that women are much more likely to be drawn to stories on true crime, and it's for a few different reasons.
So I found that women, both men and women, but women especially, liked when a true crime story had something that involved the psychological content of it.
Earlier this year, a little girl in Florida actually survived an attempted kidnapping and even helped police track down the suspect, all because of a trick she learned while watching Law & Order SVU. Ripped from the headlines, you know what I'm talking about. Take a look at this video here.
Sherman says the most important thing to remember is that every story represents a family that has been torn apart by loss and grief.
Making sure that these victims aren't just names or statistics, that these are people that lost their lives, that created huge holes in their own families.
Yeah, paying tribute to the families is so important, especially because, you know, when we're telling these true crime stories, right, oftentimes they sensationalize the killer, and that's the name you think of.
Yeah, you don't want to walk away thinking, oh, this person was cool or it's an interesting fake story. These are real people. Take Ted Bundy, for example. He was one of the most cold-blooded killers in this country's history. He's confessed to 30 murders. It's likely even more than that. And for the recent anniversary, marking 30 years since his execution, Netflix came out with a documentary series. It's a thin line. You don't want to make the serial killer likable. In her research, Dr. Vickery has found that both pros and cons when it comes to indulging in true crime. Now, listen, true crime. Now, a lot of people watch it as a way to relax and unwind. We mentioned the PJs and the wine, right? Dr. Vickery says depending on how much someone consumes it, it also could be increasing your anxiety.
Okay, so that's when it's time to turn it off and go to something else. We already talked about how true crime stories have helped people learn tips for survival, blue slime, but true crime investigations can also help solve cold cases. And one of the notable ones happened right here in New England. Authorities in New Hampshire were finally able to identify a woman and 3 young girls whose bodies were found in barrels in Bear Brook State Park. It was a listener of New Hampshire Public Radio's true crime podcast, Bear Brook, who used Ancestry.com to help police connect the dots.
We just had to ask him. We had to know, does anything surprise him anymore?
I'm surprised when we encounter a character who is shamelessly devious. That kind of personality is one that I still don't understand, but I must say is darkly fascinating.
And he sat across from these people. He has sat and looked eye to eye with people who are the devious.
Yeah. And you wonder, too, because as you watch them, too, you always have who you think is a suspect, and then it changes, and obviously that's part of the drama,
that's
the making of these podcasts and these shows.
That's where we play FBI.
Yes.
You know, we get to figure out who done it.
And I never get it right, but it's still fun to watch anyway. All right, coming up here on the 10, a lot more still ahead, including some new concern over the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the risk of nerve complications that now has the FDA investigating.
Police looking for a man who they say was caught on camera entering a home while the family was there. What happened next? You'll want to hear that. And of course, Pete with our weather.
That's right, JC. We're talking about the sunshine returning to parts of northern New England and how we may get some sun and a break in this pattern later this week. That's coming up.
Welcome back to the 10. The FDA planning to issue a new warning about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Federal regulators found there is a risk of developing a rare neurological disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome, or GBS. The risk is low, but officials found it's 3 to 5 times higher among people who got the J&J shot than the general population. All right, we went in depth on true crime. Now it's time to take a look at some of the other top stories happening around the Boston area today.
Including a home break-in that was caught on camera and a standoff between police and a man with a sword. Here's Mike, Alicia, and John with more.
A standoff comes to an end in Everett after police say a man came at them with a sword. The Middlesex County DA says officers went to a multifamily home on Buckman Street and found a 45-year-old man barricaded inside. Authorities say the man eventually came out and moved toward officers with what they described as a sword. They first fired a non-lethal sponge round. When that didn't stop the suspect's advance, an Everett police officer shot him. No word on a motive. The DA says the suspect is expected to be okay. He has not been identified as of yet. Also, no word on any charges.
I'm Alicia Palumbo in Northbridge, where police are hoping you can help them track down a brazen intruder. That man was caught on a doorbell camera Sunday afternoon, confidently walking into a stranger's home in Northbridge. The homeowner says she and her husband and other adult relatives were in the backyard trying to put together this swing set while their 1-year-old son was napping in his bedroom and their 2 other children and niece played inside. Incredibly, the intruder was inside for 16 minutes and spotted by 2 of the children before he was caught on camera calmly walking back out the front door. Nothing was missing and no one was harmed, but if you recognize the man in the video, you're asked to call police.
A rapper accused of murdering a Milton man over the weekend faced a judge on Monday. Investigators say Miles King shot and killed 25-year-old Marquise Simmons near Simmons' home on Belvoir Road Saturday night. Prosecutors didn't mention a motive in court, but the victim's family says it had something to do with some kind of squabble over music. Both men, they say, were musicians. The judge ordered King held without bail. He is due back in court next month. We're in Quincy. I'm Mike Manzoni.
A debate about goats going on in Tewksbury. A woman is fighting to keep her pet goats after the state told her they need to be slaughtered. Vilmaria Maldonado got the goats from her boyfriend a few years ago.
Lots of kisses for those goats. All right, coming up, not everyone loves that dirty water. Apparently ahead right here on the 10, the new data about which beaches are safe for swimming and which ones aren't.
And it might be a couple of more days before you're ready to go back to the beach. Pete's here with a look at when we'll see the sun again, and hopefully he'll say soon, right after this break.
Time now for your first alert weather. It's July, so guess what? It rained again today. Take a look at these images from Lynn today. I'm wondering where summer is, Pete, because we're like halfway through July.
Can't find it.
Yeah,
Not
it
even
was
halfway through July. Look at all the rain we've gotten already.
It was June. Your summer was in June.
Oh,
Don't you know that? Yeah, right. And our summer will be in August and September and probably October this year. Anyway, we're third place all-time record, and it's the most rain we've seen in most of our lives, unless you've been born in these times, in that time frame. I wonder if you remember those Julys. Those are pretty soggy. And we do have a chance to get to number one. I mean, we're only halfway through it, so stands to reason, right? First 12 days, we've had measurable precipitation. Trace or more in Boston. The surplus is over 7.5 inches. That's above normal. Incredible stuff. And of course, the Charles today was in flood, now minor flooding going on. Shawsheen is near it, and the Spigot and also the Aspet River near flood stage 2. The Blackstone is now below flood stage, and major stem rivers will stay pretty swollen over the next couple of days as the smaller streams empty into the bigger ones. Heavy rain is done, though, for the time being. We're just looking at a couple of sprinkles over the next couple of days. This does not look like a soaking wet 2-day period. Maybe Wednesday night we get a chance for some thunder. Okay, so I'll back off on that heavy rain done. At least it's done in the short term. More clouds in the forecast than anything. And late week, the heat does come on along with some sunshine, which we saw some of through the seacoast and even into northeastern Mass, that being Newburyport and Amesbury. And it was all clouds in Boston. And the clouds will swell back up into the seacoast overnight tonight as we sit in this misty kind of air with some fog. We just got rid of the heavier rains off Nantucket, too, so no one is spared this wet pattern. Now, again, look at the maps, watch for the green blobs, and they're not looking like they're going nasty or severe or thunderstorms pop up. That stays across western New England or New York State, even through Tuesday and Tuesday night as well. Wednesday, again, it's a chance of getting those showers as we go through the afternoon, maybe a rumble of thunder. But here's the proof, 3/100ths of an inch is just a splash in the pan compared to where we've been. 67 in Boston. Today's high was in the lower 70s. We're doing nothing with the numbers tomorrow. We did get up into the 80s, up to Caribou and back to Montreal, the haves and have-nots. When you're draped in this front here and all the cloud cover, you can't really expect much, right? We have to wait for this upper level low and this feature here to move through on Wednesday before we can get the all clear and talk about Thursday and Friday getting better. Dew points right now into the mid-60s and low 60s. The air is sticky, and it remains that way all the way through Saturday. The humidity will build, even though the temperatures may slump into the weekend. If we get the showers and thunderstorms, a potential for that, too. This dip in the jet stream has been the problem. We've been seeing many dips come into this area down through the southern Mississippi River Valley. This one moves out on Wednesday, but look, another one forms, oh no, going into the weekend, and that means it'll pump up more in the way of rain late on Saturday and then on Sunday and into Monday too. It looks, again, gray and showery. 62, fog and scattered showers, northeast wind. Tomorrow's forecast, let's just turn the page, 68 degrees, and then warmer on Wednesday owing to a little bit of sunshine. That day isn't washed out, but any sun will feed the thunderstorms late day. Thursday, Friday, dry, humid, and then Saturday, maybe some late storms. It looks like Sunday is one of those drab days we know, love, and adore. And that could be Monday, too. We'll have to see how that plays out for now.
We don't always love and adore. But remember, you can take our first alert weather with you on the go. Download our free NBC 10 Boston mobile news app, and you can set up alerts for your hometown. You can keep a close eye on that radar, which you're going to need to do. You just click on the weather tab.
Listen, JC, I want a refund on the month of July. 68 tomorrow, get out of here.
Yeah.
Listen, we know it's not ideal beach weather at the moment, but there is a new report out that tells you which beaches are safe to swim out here locally. The Environment Massachusetts Research and Policy Center looked into the beaches with the highest amounts of bacteria. They found that most beaches in the Bay State are safe for swimming, but the beach with the most days of unsafe water is actually Kings Beach in Lynn. That report also said it had unsafe water on 75% of the days they tested. Malibu Beach in Dorchester also had a high number of days with unsafe water, according to that report. All right, coming up, a wild encounter for, of all people, The Rock, who's shirtless in this photo. What happened outside his window that was so crazy it even prevented him, with all his muscles, from getting outside for a workout.
A Cracker Barrel birthday celebration takes an unexpected turn. What this waitress did that's now going viral.
Right outside my kitchen door is a big, beautiful hawk who got his talons on a hell of a snake.
You could probably afford skipping a day, right? Listen, we've all been out for a birthday, right? You got that one friend, is it you, who goes behind your back as the wait staff to sing happy birthday to you, mostly just to embarrass you?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it because I don't want it done to me.
Got her a record deal. That's
right.
An amazing voice.
She's going to sing happy birthday anytime.
All right, that is our time for the 10 on NBC. I'm Tim Caputo.
Jason Money.